Don't do that. And there's this one. I close my eyes for one of them.
Come on, don't just smile.
We'll do another one of these. There. My son is coming home today. My foster son. I haven't heard from him since he ran away 3 months ago. I'm excited and relieved, but I'm nervous too. The 4 years we've been together have been an emotional roller coaster for both of us. A wild cycle of need and rejection. We've both learned a lot, but have we learned enough to finally break the cycle and move on?
I'd never get here.
My friend Pat has come along for moral support. She's been there for me all through my time with Michael, almost like a second parent. Bounding down the runway. With Michael, you learn to expect the unexpected. The first surprise is the wheelchair. What did you do?
I stepped on a whole bunch of nails.
A whole bunch. When was it enough?
Yeah, one was enough.
Well, how are you? Can I get a hug?
Yeah.
Come first, eh? Don't worry about your...
Fine. I'm going out there. Then I just hung around Edmonton for a month, hustled, and then left, and I went to Vancouver. Had my taste of life. Tastes great. Too expensive though.
You thought about where you want to live now?
Yeah, it's your house.
You can handle that?
Yeah.
Mike, it's time to get going. I think I'm a pretty ordinary parent. I want to get mad at Mike for disappearing for 3 months without a word. You have to get to the table for breakfast, okay? But this isn't a normal relationship, and Mike's not your average 17-year-old. At this point, it's best just to clean him up and get him back on his feet. Literally. You able to walk okay?
Yeah, I'm getting better.
Yes, come in here. Well, let's have a look at your foot then.
I jumped down and there's nails, like a bed of nails.
Wayne Gretzky's signature?
No, it's this drunk dude that thought he was Wayne Gretzky. And I thought he was Wayne Gretzky too.
When his guard is down, Mike's a nice kid.
I was,
He can even be warm and affectionate.
yeah.
Yes, he drinks and shoots drugs, but that's not who he is.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Other people may look at Mike and see just a street kid. I see my son. People seem surprised that a gay man would want to be a parent. Why? A lot of gay men have children. I've always known generally that I'd like to be a dad someday, but the awful events of the 1980s forced me and most other gay men to get very serious about our lives. AIDS had just hit, and we didn't know much about it. Most of gay men were looking at their lives in weeks and months and days, and I met Jim as a volunteer, and he was dying of AIDS at the time. And he looked at me and he said, "What do you want to do with your life? You know, if you only had a week left to live, what do you want to do?" I said, well, I was really interested in city council and getting some change there. And I really wanted to be a father. And at that time, being gay and being a father seemed almost impossible. And I looked at what Jim was living with and the courage to face that he had in facing the challenges he was facing, and my situation seemed comparatively pretty modest. And it was through Jim that I really learned about life, and this whole adventure started. My life just changed overnight.
It's got a run. I haven't cried for a while.
Why do you keep on putting things in the garbage when the garbage is right here?
Because there's two garbages. That's your garbage. I have my garbages in the closet appropriately.
Appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Look at all
On the street? No, don't have a chance. Too busy doing other things, smoking dope or whatever, and just go to McDick's if I have some money.
Mission.
Mission impossible.
Mission. Thank you. Got room in there for two? I don't want to ask how many will fit in there. I met Mike when I was counseling street kids at a community clinic. The juvenile authorities asked me to talk to a 13-year-old who was dressing in women's clothes. They thought he might be confused about his sexuality. Well, Michael isn't gay. He's just a kid who likes to challenge authority. Dressing as a girl was one way to do it. Anyway, we talked and got along. I took him home for a few visits, and I saw something very special in Mike. Then one day, he asked me to be his dad. And I said yes. Sounds simple, but it wasn't. Homophobia at its worst and its most vitriolic usually focuses on myths about gay men being interested in children. So when it came to parent Mike, Mike and I were confronting sort of the worst and most base of homophobic attitudes, which is you can't leave a male child alone in an apartment with a gay man. The child would not be safe.
I had a social worker, and my opinion and my dad's opinion is that he was homophobic and scared, I guess. Not really for me. My opinion is that he was just scared of my dad, period. As the troublesome child that I was, he didn't want me going into an environment where he felt I was unsafe.
Fortunately, that social worker supervisor knew me and wanted to give us the chance.
I wanted my people to be absolutely certain to make sure that they dotted their I's and crossed their T's on this one. Because if something went wrong, I was prepared to stand up and defend our decision to utilize Glen. But I didn't want to be vulnerable because we had not had a complete process done.
The process was certainly complete. But approval was eventually given, and Mike moved in.
In this particular situation, Glen viewed himself as a little bit of a white knight, and he was going to save a child in need. And when people stopped applauding and people stopped telling him what a great job he had done, what a marvelous commitment this was to the caring of children, he was left with a very angry young man who had a lot of behavioral issues to sort through.
For a while, things were great. Michael went to school, seemed happy enough. Then the first signs of the cycle started to show themselves. Staying out late, skipping school. I didn't immediately realize how serious this was. Then one day I came home to a nightmare. We were living in an older apartment on Wolseley at the time.
I got really intoxicated, and next door, the building next door to us, I was over there, and my cat scratched me. I threw him on the ground, and this girl gave me a slap in the head. So I left, and I came home. Just got inside, I was still drunk, and the phone rang. I picked up the phone, and there was nobody on the phone, so I hung it up, and then I blacked out. And when I came back to reality, my house was toast. I remember trying to kick French doors, but I fell on my ass, and then I remember throwing my weight set through the kitchen windows. But that's about all I can remember. I remember waking up in the bathroom, sitting there by myself, and my dad just came home.
What did he say?
Just choked.
From there, it was straight down into drugs, alcohol, and stealing, until he bottomed out, pretty much like any alcoholic, except Michael was 15. And that's the cycle. He comes back when he hits bottom, and he's wonderful till it starts up again.
Last time, he ended up on probation for stealing a car. His response was to take off, and now he's back again.
You say that you want it to work out, but within about 30 days, you start blowing it all off.
It just, I don't know, it's complicated.
What are the kinds of things you do that you think that you could change?
If I stop stealing your car,
And you only did that once.
twice. I could stop, I don't know, just be truthful.
When you first came to stay,
Yeah.
and you asked me to be your dad, I think I had some really unrealistic expectations. I thought you'd grow up and just sort of be a normal kid. You know what I mean? In the sense that all the horrible things that had happened to me before would all disappear. Then I realized things weren't going to be like that. That you can't live as if the past never happened. And I got real scared, Mike, because I didn't know how to be a parent. At first I thought, well, if I just tried harder to love you more, or that I could make it all go away and make it all better. I don't know how we start again now to help you and help me restore the trust that used to be there.
Just gotta start from the beginning. Start over. Just let it happen again, but not the way it happened last time. You just start over again, see what we can do better this time.
Go!
10 years in the system have taught Mike to give back the answers he thinks you want to hear. He sometimes sounds glib, but I believe that underneath it all, he's sincere. I have to believe it.
Jennifer told me that Brent and Rob went to Vancouver.
No, because Rob...
Most of Michael's life is still on the streets. That's where his friends are, and that's where he feels most comfortable.
He said, okay, and he would go there, but I thought I saw him a couple times, but I didn't see him. So other than that, life's been good. It's been good to me so far. Can't complain.
So next time I do time, it'll be in fucking Headingley. No plan to go back. That's something to look forward to.
A lot of the challenge in being Michael's dad is finding a way to connect his life to mine. In most ways, our lives couldn't be much different. My other ambition, to get into politics, I've acted on that too. I became involved in city politics and ended up running for council in an inner city ward. I expected a big issue to be made of my being gay, but surprisingly, it was hardly mentioned. Even more surprisingly, I won.
Avez-vous la chance de voter aujourd'hui?
Peter Dime at 116.
I try to include Michael as much as I can in this part of my life. But let's face it, these are not his people.
I just want to ask you about what this means for a win and in the future.
I think when we started off with 20 seats, that might have been a problem.
Whatever connection I made with Mike, it hasn't been through politics.
And we earned their trust and their respect. I think it's they gave a lot of weight. That's my father. He always wore loud plaid bathing suits. And that's my mom, tried to drown herself. That's me. Yeah. Great haircut, eh?
No teeth.
That's my sister.
The little blonde?
Yeah. See?
Oh, you
Even
were a
kids that
normal
played-
boy.
Yeah. I like to play with guns when I was a kid. I used to love playing cowboys and Indians. Used to play hockey all the time, and my dad used to coach the team. I think I'm number 11 there.
I think so too.
Yeah, I'm number 11. That was my number. Every Sunday, my parents used to make me wear all these clothes that I couldn't stand. You see? And I had to do the buttons like really nerdy all the way up to the top.
Go to church?
Or go to church or go to my grandmother's. I was old to be adopted. I was over 1 year old when I was adopted, which in the late 50s was unusual. I was, months away from going through becoming an institution kid like Mike had become. I think I assumed when I was younger that everyone was straight. Like I knew that people who were gay were called queers and fags, and I think the scariest moment in my entire life was when I had to try to tell my mom I was gay. I remember telling her, and she just burst out into tears, and she slipped onto the floor and started talking about that I had to go see a doctor or something. When I was in my mid-late 20s, she told my father then, I think for the first time in a very real way, and he just didn't know what to say. It was the first time I'd ever seen my father not know what to say. I think they were afraid that all of the things that we had in common were now somehow different because I was gay.
Who's that?
It's
One of your
Donna White.
foster sisters? No.
I wish.
Mm-hmm.
And these things are all, what do you call it? Like greatest jailbreaks, largest thefts, biggest scams. Just casual things. Oh, the old cow. This is my mother dearest. My mother dearest mother. She pisses me off at the best of times. And sometimes I love her and most times I hate her. I don't even talk to my real dad no more. I talk to him. The best thing that he did for me in 13 years was send me a birthday card. Yahoo. My mom, she sends me a birthday card sometimes. And sometimes I even forget her birthdays and Mother's Day and stuff. She wasn't there when I needed her. And not very many times did she back me up when I needed backup. So, I don't know. Well, this guy was staying with my mom. My mom let him stay with us. And they went, my mom took my brothers and my sister grocery shopping. And he stayed there by himself. And she didn't trust him all that much. And she didn't like me all that much. So she told me to stay with him. So I stayed there. About 15 minutes after he left, he went into his room and he came back with a stack of books in a white styrofoam box. And wasn't paying no attention. He's looking through the books. Then he pulled out a pellet gun, and he pointed at me, and he told me to come over and suck on his cock, and I told him no. So he pointed at the gun, and he fired it at me, and it hit me in the shoulder, and I fell back, and I banged my head on the bookshelf, and all the books fell on top of me. Started crying, and he told me, "Come over, boy, or I'll do it again." So I went over and did what I had to do.
Did you feel safe when you were at home?
No, because I didn't know whether or not to go to sleep, or whether or not to lock my door for my mom. Just never know what's gonna happen.
What would happen?
Probably get slapped. Hit with a dog chain. I was never really intimidated by my mom. She's just a short lady with a bad temper. And a drinking problem, that's all. I used to be a hustler. I used to go and stand on the hill and give old men blowjobs for money. They want to kiss you and stuff, and they want to fill you up. And in most cases, it's not acceptable. You want a blowjob? Put on a condom. I'll give you a blowjob. I'm not here to make you feel super passionate. I'm here to get some money. You're here to get off. Most people wouldn't even think of getting in a car with a person like that. They all belong on Halloween or something, like a horror show.
Men who exploit children's bodies also steal their souls in a way. They turn love and affection into something nasty and distorted.
I remember at night, Michael hardly ever wore clothes at night, and he would lie down on the bed, and he'd ask me to come and give him a back rub. And I used to sit at the edge of the bed rubbing him, or I would be lying down on the sofa, he'd come and lie on top of me or curl up with me. And I used to always wonder, well, what would happen if a social worker walked in right now on a home visit? And so I went, when I was in Montreal, and a woman who had helped me with my coming out, and I just threw my arms up in the air and said, look, I don't know what to do. Is it normal for like a 14 or 15-year-old to come and jump on top of you? And she just looked at me and she said, Glenn, you know, as long as he's comfortable and you're comfortable, and you clearly understand what non-sexual contact is, no problem, you know, and just have a bit more confidence in your ability to love this child. Give up already. You win.
Between 7 years old and 15, Mike lived in 28 different places, foster families to institutions. He has no concept of home or permanence. I can't replace that by myself, so I try to make my friends his family. Pat's been fantastic. She and Michael have their own relationship now, apart from me. He told me once he wished I'd marry her.
Being 17 is really rough.
Yeah, it is. You gotta have an attitude. You gotta have.
My gay friends aren't intimidated by a boy who's different. Being outsiders themselves, gay people can accept other outsiders and even reach out to them. Take Doug, for instance. He'd give you the dress off his back.
Make yourself useful?
Making myself useful. Making myself useful.
At least now, anyway.
At least now, anyway, yeah.
Ouch.
But it goes, you could see your hairline and you could see it looks like your hair.
Well, it's supposed to.
But why? So it doesn't look like you're wearing a wig.
So when I walk down the street, I don't get beaten up.
Oh! Does that happen a lot?
No. Because I always look natural.
Natural.
Mm-hmm.
But how many days?
Lipstick, oh! Oh, it's your color.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Come here. You're lucky I licked the Kleenex. My mother used to spit on her face and then do it.
Oh. Well, okay then. Thank you. I feel so rosy.
So how are you and your dad getting along?
Fine.
Yeah, you're not fighting at all?
Well, sometimes. Just have our ups and downs, just like other people.
Yeah. Well, he seems to think you're doing pretty good with staying off drugs.
Trying to, but always those little occasions where you just seem to stumble back.
Well, I think he knows that, though. He understands. So how do I look?
Need some cleavage here.
Honey, if your mother looked like this, you'd be living in Hollywood.
Well, yeah, but she doesn't look like that. That's probably why I live in Winnipeg.
Yeah, Norma, I was wondering if when I left Winnipeg, I had an outstanding warrant, and I was wondering if it was still in effect. Yeah. But, okay, well, how is that gonna get dealt with? Are the police gonna come and arrest me, or are you just gonna, like, dismiss it?
Mike's life is almost impossibly complicated. Before he can even begin to live a so-called normal life, he has to straighten himself out with the authorities. Mike's first reaction would be to run again, but I have to hand it to him. He doesn't, and the matter of the broken probation is put to rest. Then there's the question of a job. I can ask people to give him a chance, but I can hardly blame them if they're skeptical.
I don't know how to say it other than, you know, can you convince me that you're sincere with it, that you want it?
I'm not sure there's a way I can convince you, except by getting a chance and showing you what I got. And if you're not happy with it, well, then I can understand that.
You're out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Okay.
It all requires enormous
I don't do the
discipline,
hiring.
and that's
I do the
not
phone
Mike's
calls
strong
out there
suit.
to the department managers or anybody else.
And I always know the street's still out there, beckoning to him. street offers freedom from any responsibility or discipline. Whatever its dangers, it offers a way out right now.
Concentration.
It's a strong temptation. And for Mike to resist it takes a terrific and constant effort. And that causes strain, terrible strain. So it scares the heck out of me to leave Michael alone to go away on business, even for a couple of days. And I know that it scares him too.
Is being deserted a big fear for you?
Yeah,
Do you think that has something to do with me going away? Is that it?
I think so.
Because you don't mind, it's not important for you to be around me sometimes. But you really hate not having the choice.
Yeah.
Like you can take off and go on the street for a couple of weeks and not worry about it if I'm in town, but you know that I'm there somewhere if you need me. But where I'm going at it, you have the choice. So it almost seems as important not only having a parent, but you having the control of deciding whether or not you want to have a parent or not. So, you know I always come back.
Yeah.
You know I'm not going to leave you. I mean, you've done everything, you've tried everything possibly could to get me to leave, and I still don't leave. So
Gave up trying.
yeah, so
No, I don't want you to leave.
are things different now? This
Why
time
not?
I'm going away than the last times?
Yeah, I'm not gonna do nothing stupid.
Hi, Glenn. It's Pat speaking. I just wanted to let you know that Mike didn't show up on Friday night. He came by here on Saturday. He was quite bloodied and stoned on something. I'm not sure what. Call me if you get a chance.
This is not just 17-year-old hell-raising. Mike's an addict. When he falls off the wagon, it can lead to disaster.
I mean, it's not
You're not listening to me. I did not make a mistake. I just had some fun. Should just learn to calm down a little bit, you know? You're just too hyper all the time. Get too involved in your work, then you come here and you bring it out on me.
You think I would be remotely upset right now if all you had done is had a couple of beers or you'd come home late
That's
one
all
night?
I did. I had a couple
It was a
of
friggin'
beers.
circus.
It wasn't a
Oh,
circus.
Pat
I
lied
had
to
a
me.
2-4
You didn't get drunk at the Occidental. You didn't come home at 3 o'clock in the morning. You weren't doing drugs while I was gone. You didn't stand Pat up.
I didn't say I didn't do
You
all
didn't
those
have a
things.
rumble here.
No, that's
wasn't
one thing
drinking
I did not. I didn't
and
have
drugs
a
on the
rumbling.
balcony
We
in
were
full
play,
view
we
of
were
everybody.
play fighting. That's all. Just me and Robert play fighting. We knocked the picture down a couple times. Knocked that. This.
Oh, just knocked the picture down a few times.
Well,
I
that's
found.
no rumble.
I found a case of beer there, Mike. 2-4.
It's
You're
empty.
only here one afternoon.
Well, it doesn't take long to drink a 2-4. What can
Well, you know, what's the problem? What have I got right now from you that tells me this isn't going to happen tomorrow, the next day, the day after that?
I have no idea.
Exactly. I've got the same hard-edged, bullshit attitude from you, the dishonesty from you, the alcoholic behavior from you that I put up with a little too long.
Sue me.
Okay.
Well, I'm splitting because I don't
Yeah,
want to
you might as well just pack it in.
Bullshit.
Yeah, go for a long walk and be back before midnight. If you're not back before midnight, forget
You know
about
where your
keys.
dinner hangs.
Pardon me?
You know where your dinner hangs.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Get away from me.
How do you control a kid like Mike? Send him to his room? Nothing I could hold over him could ever frighten him. So in the end, I draw a line and hold it. I yell, he leads, the cycle continues. It's been 2 weeks now since the fight. Things got rapidly worse until 5 days ago, he just took off altogether. I came home one day and found my VCR gone, pawned, I assume, for drugs. I have just 2 rules with Mike. I'll never hit him or use force. I'll never tell him he can't come back. Beyond that, what can I do? He'll be well back into it now. The drugs, the hustling, more drugs, more hustling. Weeks now, and I've got a lead. I've got his girlfriend's address. What will I do if I find him? I don't know. Ask him if he needs anything, I guess. Hi, is Mike Curtis here?
Who?
Mike Curtis?
No.
Lynn still live here?
No.
No, they moved, have they?
Yeah.
Do you know how long ago?
He got kicked out about the 1st of December.
They got kicked out the 1st of December? Okay, thanks very much.
Yep.
Child abuse used to be an important but abstract issue for me.
Concern around the issue of violence, but
Since
also
Mike,
particularly because
it's become painfully personal.
within our perception of what really is a healthy community.
I want to talk about this from a personal level, and people have talking about women. The other aspect of this is children. We've seen the brutalization of those who are most vulnerable, which are our children. The children who are victims of violence on a daily basis through prostitution and through beatings on the street, and to the young women who are knifed and young men who have to sell their bodies, that kind of thing in a society is unacceptable.
Mr. Speaker, I have patiently now for 3 meetings had Councillor Fraser interrupt me when I'm speaking. Either I am going to get up and leave.
Things have taken an ugly turn at City Council. Councillors interrupting, heckling, insulting me.
I wish you'd pay attention because I did.
And some of the comments cut pretty close. It's not that I didn't expect this, but that doesn't make it any easier to take.
Thanks a lot.
Whatever our troubles, Mike has always accepted me for who I am. And right now, I feel like I could use a little acceptance.
As the meeting got underway, Glen Murray walked out in protest. Not over parking issues, but because of a decision by the mayor.
I do hereby proclaim Tuesday, July the 14th.
Each year, the mayor proclaims over 100 events for special interest groups. He refuses to proclaim Pink Triangle Day. The internationally observed day recognizes homosexuals killed in the Holocaust. It's observed in other cities, including Vancouver. Councillor Murray, who is gay, says Winnipeg should proclaim Pink Triangle Day.
Pink triangles were put on gay men during the Second World War, and they were rounded up. People like me, and it would be very likely, as a matter of fact, almost guaranteed that if I had been living in Nazi Germany at that time, I would be sent to a gas chamber.
But I just think that it's not a proper subject.
That was someone calling to tell him that he had a 12-inch dildo that he was going to come over and stick up my ass, and that he knew where I lived. And how could they let a fag on Winnipeg City Council? I'll start now for a while.
Murray says he's been harassed about his homosexuality while doing his job. He feels he must take...
Well, because you're out there, and
He decides not to go to meetings.
you're always. It's very easy for me. I don't ever feel vulnerable when I'm talking about things that are issues that aren't personal, that don't have to deal with things that I've had to confront all my life. Makes it very rare for me to be in a situation where I'd be holding elected office. But these kinds of things bring it home in a really personal way, you know. And I could hate literature and pick up the phone to people who think they're trying to do something constructive who can't articulate anything intelligent, but you know, it's very near the surface. It's very near the surface.
In the end, it's the film crew who finds Mike. The cycle's reached bottom. He's on the hill, strung out and hustling.
It was very simple what he's asked me to do, and I don't know, I couldn't follow it. He's told me, just don't want you doing drugs, no drinking, and follow your curfew. It's 3 simple things. Just couldn't even do that. Just kept on. I know I was doing great, and then next thing you know, started screwing up again. Started drinking, doing drugs. Then I split, and I'm still doing drugs. I'm still drinking. Don't know. One day I'll get a shot. Next day I'll get a gram. Next day I'll get a shot. Next day I'll get a gram. So I'm gonna keep a permanent buzz going. And to deal with these old men and stuff, just standing around selling your body, people are looking at you, they're looking down on you. And you just, oh man, I should be stoned right now so I don't have to deal with this.
Where do you want to be in 5 years?
If I'm alive? I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I don't think about the future. Gotta think about today. Because tomorrow might not come.
Maybe that's the situation. Your dad wants you to think about the future, and you don't want to think about the future. Yeah. Maybe that's a big difference between you and your father.
Mostly because I'm HIV positive and he's not. So he can live till he's 160 if he wants. He doesn't smoke, he doesn't do drugs, he doesn't do anything. I'm HIV positive, I'm a male prostitute, and I use intravenous drugs. So that's why I just think for today. I don't know if I'm gonna be alive tomorrow. Just think for today. There's me, Kirby, and this girl named Susan. Susan got killed, she got murdered. And then me and Kirby were always shooting up together. And we exchanged blood, like took about, 30 units of blood. Shot in, like I took his blood and he took my blood. And then he was HIV positive and I got it from him.
You didn't know he was HIV positive?
But he did. And he just played the duck.
Are you scared?
Of dying?
Yeah.
I don't know. Never really thought of it. I was at first when I first found out. I was gonna kill myself right away. But then I just jammed out. So I guess, yeah, I am scared to die.
That's been a secret between him and I and very few other people. It's been hard for him because the only safe place that he's had to deal with it is with me. And I've known, I knew Mike a year before he came to live with me. I got pretty suspicious that he had HIV about a week before he came to live with me, just because he'd come in for a test when I found out he'd been using needles heavily. And about 3 days after he arrived, he found out. And if you can understand all the other stuff that we've been going through, and that having had that underlying it all has been pretty tough. I guess I realize that this is one of those hard moments where I realize that this is where I can't take responsibility for his life if I ever could. You know, you can't take responsibility for adults' lives. You know, you have responsibility for children's lives. But I can just sort of be here and wait. I always have. I think I've learned to wait patiently. Maybe that's the difference for him to come back. I know he'll come back.
Das ist verboten.
Yep.
Coffee, first thing in the morning. Thanks. Right after I found out, I split. I took off for 10 days. Just when God put my mind into oblivion. Then finally when I pulled it back down to earth, I just realized, well, maybe I should go home now. Then I went home and started talking about it. Midnight? Sounds good to me.
The decision to talk about HIV had to be Mike's. When people know you're HIV positive, it changes everything.
Okay.
Everything.
I get a handicap for age. Okay, you get one for height. Fair. Foot back.
Champion. I win again. We talked and stuff, and he said if you're gonna have sex with someone, you should let them know before you have sex, and always use condoms. And I agreed. And I would tell a girl, and then next thing you know, she just wouldn't talk to me no more. Wouldn't even acknowledge that I exist. So, just afraid of it. And people, like when people find out about it, they say, "Oh, you're an AIDS victim. You're a freak. Get away from me," and stuff. They're just scared of you.
How did Rhonda? Did you talk to Rhonda about what you told her last night?
Mm-hmm.
What happened with that?
Nothing. She said that doesn't change the way I feel about you.
Mm.
I said, good.
She was pretty upset last night.
She was.
Yeah.
For what?
You told me last night she was crying.
Well, that's not upset.
Well, what's crying mean?
That means you're upset.
Yeah.
So what am I supposed to say to her? I can't just start breaking up in a big conversation. We're sitting in a car and there was 2 other girls in there.
Yeah.
And I was trying to be quiet about it.
But you can say, look,
That's why I
can get
didn't
together
say
tomorrow.
anything. I was just hugging her. That's what I thought.
How do you think she feels right now about you?
She thinks I'm an honest guy.
Yeah. How many do you have on today?
2.
You know that's heterosecticide, eh?
Heterosecticide.
So is there? Can you move any of your hair?
What?
Can you move your hair?
No.
I had a whole regime worked out for Mike to prevent or delay the onset of AIDS. Acyclovir or AZT low dose. I'd read up on everything from passive immunotherapy to Chinese cucumbers. But those things are so far away from Mike's reality. He's struggling to get control of a drinking problem, sometimes even finding a place to sleep. HIV is invisible. And there are so many very real day-to-day threats that he's barely coping with. So we've had to let HIV drift for the time being. Mike's turning 18. We both decided it's time he got his own place.
Yeah. Do you like these things?
Yeah, a few times, yeah.
These are thicker than the one I
I know.
have. Okay.
Cause this.
Well, which one's?
I like this one now. This is good for watching TV. There are TVs right there. Just check it out.
That one has 4 positions, actually.
4 positions.
4 positions.
Something seems to have happened to Mike. Whether it was the decision to move out or going public with his HIV, whatever it was, something's changed. For one thing, he's got a job.
Well, okay. Oh, yes. Okay, get out of there.
Whether we put it on hold or not, HIV is always there, putting a certain urgency on our relationship.
I've watched a lot of friends die of this disease, and I know you know that if you ever got sick, you'd be welcome to be here, and I would take care of you through it all. I'm afraid of that. I don't know how I would how I'd cope with it. I would. I don't think Mike has anywhere else to go, and in a really selfish way, would be really hurt if he ever went anywhere else with that. What do you think? Yeah, you just we don't really talk about that very much, do we?
Not really. Just, but might as well get it out in the open. But if I ever get sick, well then, I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I have no regrets about Michael. Sure, he's a difficult kid, but he's my kid, my child of choice. And as the playwright says, The heart does not choose wisely. It just chooses. Learning to love Michael has taught me to see the helpless child inside every one of us. He's brought back my own childhood for me and let me recapture a bit of that magic and pain. In whatever mistakes I've made with him, I've never broken the basic promise of unconditional love and a safe place to call home. Because of that, I honestly feel I've never let him down. And in my darker moments, I sometimes think he may be the only person in my life I can say that about.